Move on right now, though, because arguments wrapped up earlier today in the hearing in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia in the case of Mahmoud Khalil. You may remember Khalil is a pro-Palestinian protester who ICE detained for months. He was taken into custody back in March and accused of hate speech allegations that he has denied. I want to bring in CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman, who's following this for us from New York City. Katrina, thank you for your time today. Can you bring us up to speed on what happened today and what the government is seeking in this case?
Mugo, what the government wants in this case is to be able to re-detain Mahmoud Khalil, who has been released after he spent months in detention, and to be able to proceed with his removal, with his deportation from this country. And what they were arguing today is, on a fundamental level, they don't even believe that this should be proceeding in a federal court right now, Mugo. They say that this should all be happening in an immigration court down in Louisiana, where Mahmoud Khalil was ultimately detained. But it was a very tricky situation. He was arrested in New York. He was moved through New Jersey on his way to Louisiana. So a threshold question here at the very beginning of these arguments was it not appropriate for this habeas claim regarding Khalil's detention to even be filed in New York in the first place? Ultimately, these proceedings happen in New Jersey, where he was in between. Something that the judges all really seem to push back on, though, Mugo, is that the government has been arresting people and moving them around the country. And what they're arguing is that there's supposed to just be one custodian here where you make these habeas claims. It's supposed to be where they end up being detained. However, in this case, on the government's website, it said Khalil was in New York. That's where his lawyers ended up filing this petition. And while the government's lawyer, Drew Ensign, argued that ultimately it should have moved down to Louisiana, what the judges said is, how are lawyers supposed to anticipate this? Are they supposed to wait for days until Monday when these websites are updated, when the government is sometimes taking 24, 48 hours to spirit people out of the country? So they seem to have a real issue there. But there was sharp questioning on both sides. For the government, they really seem to say that their strongest point is that essentially there's these two proceedings, one regarding Khalil's detention that's currently going on in New Jersey, the other about his removal that's going on in Louisiana. And Mugo, what they say is that could potentially give someone, quote, two bites at the apple. They have two cases proceeding in different places, in different circuits. Ultimately, that might have to be resolved by the Supreme Court. But when it comes to Khalil's side, they say that they raise some real points about how there are fundamental constitutional questions here about First Amendment rights, for example, about the determination that was made that led to Khalil's arrest in the first place that can't necessarily be resolved in an immigration court by an immigration judge.
All right, Katrina Kaufman, thank you so much for your insight today. Appreciate it.